was that? Yeah, that's-
Okay. That open meeting,
Yes,
Move on right in the middle of the camera.
I call the planning board meeting. Is that,
we don't have a third minute.
Margaret's here.
Okay.
hi Margaret,
Hey,
glad you made it.
thank you.
I'll- Planning board meeting open, is that how it goes or something?
Well,
Also,
I can't remember the way.
we opened the planning board meeting, with myself. Okay.
First order of business is discussion with Brian on Swift River properties regarding a proposed subdivision on Red Barn and Ward Hill Road. Map lot 3 and lot 14, map 3 and lot 14.
All right. Some information, some maps. So you're welcome. So we're proposing 10 lots on Red Barn Road and Ward Hill Road. On the second page of the property, there's two outlots kind of in the middle, so it'll make more sense. This is an outlot and this is an outlot. There's already ones there.
How big are these lots?
They range, it's a 150 acre parcel.
Margaret, you have the electronic documents that were forwarded to you?
Yeah, I'm looking at the
That's-
subdivision.
Okay, those are the documents he just handed out.
Yeah,
Okay.
Great, thank you. So 10 lots, the lot sizes will range from 3 to that. There's the one large lot out back, that'll probably be 90 or 100 acres. No proposed infrastructure, so just gonna be drawing the lines on the paper after we have it all surveyed and go through the whole process. The gist of it,
The subdivision ordinance, this is kind of the hiccup here to start.
Yep.
I got this on Monday.
Right.
The ordinance calls for 14 days notice.
sure,
In terms of this, the planning board could waive that 14 days requirement. That's their pleasure and would naturally be subject to appeal. So if you wanted them to consider it, great, you're welcome to do that, but you need to understand the implications down the road,
sure,
if there ever was a contest.
yep,
But really, this is just section 3 of the ordinance, sorry. Section 5, I think. The sketch plan review, which is to review the sketch plan submittal, present general information regarding the proposed subdivision, and then to receive any preliminary comments. And what is required in that section of the ordinance has been presented today. The exception being section B, subsection B, subsection 1, that the applicant should submit it at least 14 days before a scheduled meeting. And this was just received on Monday.
Richard, do the neighbors in this area know about this?
At least one of them does, because they're in attendance.
Oh, okay,
But there is the next step of the process requires us to notice abutters.
is there a reason why we're pushing this along today?
I recently put the property under contract, so I don't own it yet, but I figured it would be a good idea to come in and introduce myself and the project and just kind of get just one step at a time, I guess. Just
Those two lots, they're in here.
Yeah.
Are there houses on those lots?
there are, yeah. And you can see that on the tax map where
Yeah.
those lots are.
Yeah.
All right, so this is not actually
Subdivision.
a
application.
subdivision application.
Correct.
Okay,
Right, I guess before we get too far into it, the board needs, the applicant needs to state whether or not he'd like the board to consider a waiver, and if he would like that consideration, then the board would need to move to waive that or not waive that.
Sure, so this is just the sketch plan meeting, correct? So it's just like a general overview, not really submitting a whole lot of content as far as just a few maps.
Correct, but the ordinance requires that it's submitted at least 14 days before the meeting.
Gotcha, okay.
all right. I will make a motion that we accept the pre-application sketch plan review for the Maine Woods and Waters LLC at tax map 3 lot 14 in Norridgewock.
I'll second that.
All right, you need to take a roll call vote.
All in favor?
No.
Okay, Margaret? Yes.
So the motion was to waive the 14-day advance notice.
Yes.
Yes.
So waiving section 5 subsection B1.
Did I find it? 5 subsection B. Yep, got it here.
The result of the vote for audio.
Sorry.
Could we have the result of the vote for audio?
Two,
Everybody,
Margaret was opposed.
she was opposed.
yes.
Oh,
We had 2 in favor and 1 opposed.
And when you have just.
And what about you?
The whole east side.
The whole east side,
Not anymore.
across the road.
Majority of those persons.
No, all the way up this line.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the other side, 100 acres on each side of the road.
Okay, so where do we start with this?
The applicants made their presentation. The brief overview.
Yep.
And then it now, following the presentation, the planning board may ask questions and make suggestions to be incorporated into the application.
basically you're opening it up for questions and comments.
from us.
Yep.
Well, I have a question about the stream.
Yep.
Plan right side up here.
Sure.
Um,
Can I ask a question? How many abutting neighbors do we have on these lots?
Twenty,
20?
correct.
And all 20 have been notified in writing?
No, they won't be notified until the next step of the process.
Okay,
Yeah, this is just really preliminary things that, just from first look, that you would like to see in the application. And I know it's a little difficult because it came in late.
Yep.
But do you have your subdivision ordinance, Margaret?
yes,
Okay, so if you move, page 10 is where I've been pulling the procedure for this meeting from. But
okay,
if you go to the bottom of page 10.
yeah,
Sorry, yeah, the bottom of page 10 through page 11. You get to section B, preliminary plan submissions, and then there's a list right through page 12
yep.
and 13 that have all of the things that these plans will have to have.
So I guess my question is, how do we have people, how do the abutting neighbors who are here in attendance know about this?
It was posted on the agenda and online. So the
Oh,
agenda,
so they only know this through casually going through our planning board agenda?
yeah, so it's on our homepage, it's at the office, it's at the post office and at the bank.
I see.
And then, and there's
So there
nothing-
was no direct communication with these neighbors. They just by chance knew about this happening.
Correct.
There will be, before the final application, subdivision review is done.
Yeah, this is like life altering, changing for these neighbors. And I don't know who's in attendance here, but this is changing their life there of all these future new neighbors, right?
Correct,
Doesn't this go in front of the planning board 3 times?
at least.
Yeah.
So the next time, Margaret, is really a very substantive review.
Yeah,
That is going to require at least 14 days submission, but then the board will then have another 35 days to determine whether or not it's complete.
yeah.
And we'll send direct notice to each abutter at that point in time to say, this is the start of the public review. And these are the dates. And then at that point in time, we'll regularly issue the agendas and or notices to the abutters.
I think what I'm uncomfortable with, Richard, is that it feels like this is being pushed through and we don't have a full board, because I thought on Tuesday or Wednesday, when I got the agenda, that there was no planning board meeting because we typically know a week in advance.
Right.
And I think out of all fairness to the other members on our board, for them to really be a part of the process, they should be effectively communicated to. And I'm traveling for work and other people have work commitments, and it's just something I want to make sure that nothing is being rushed through. And you're right, it is preliminary, but it is changing the life of some of these residents in Norridgewock that I want to make sure that we are really abiding by the process.
And if I may, I'm totally with you. I'm very sorry that I sent this application late. It's not my intention to, try to skip ahead or, cut any corners. So I'm sorry if it came out that way.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Of course.
My understanding, this could take 3 or 4 months to get it all approved from what I was understanding.
Yes,
Yep, and I can tell you a little bit about my time frame. Obviously, I understand the 14-day. You know, I must have a full plan submissions together within that time period. And I won't make it for next month, but the survey should be complete, at least the preliminary, for the following meeting, which would be September. I would anticipate I could have all the submissions together then. And then it seems on page 11, then after the subdivision proposal and the application has been submitted, then the property owners are notified, and then the public hearing. So everyone should be able to have a chance once all the information is together to.
You know, you're dealing with 20 different lives, you know, and I feel strongly we should do right by those residents. And I mean, and it's actually beyond that because you have more neighbors that are coming in. So I feel, you know, quite honestly, when I got this request, it just didn't feel appropriate or that this was being presented tonight. And I believe in the process strongly. And you know, and I believe that particularly these abutting residents should be notified, and nothing should just go through the planning board process just by chance. We had 2 residents because they checked the planning board, you know, they checked the website, and we have 18 other residents that may have not. I certainly didn't.
Sure, I understand.
So these 2 lots here are where the 2 residences are already.
Yes.
The 2 residents that are here, do they own the farms that are directly on this road? Who are the residents that are here? Can you tell me that? Can I see them on this map?
Weren't they owned by the estate?
Oh, the property owner?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's.
Todd Stewart owns one of the houses and the other one is,
Oh, I don't know that information.
can't
Oh,
think of it right now.
oh, yes.
There's only 2 houses in there besides the Rogers house.
I plan to introduce
Oh, and
myself
Carrie
to those folks.
Stevens is in there too in this camp.
I'll be on site tomorrow, and I would like to meet neighbors, you know, sooner than later. Obviously, let them know what's going on. You know, people sometimes would prefer to purchase part, you know, of the property to give themselves a larger buffer. Which is always something that I, you know, like to see. It's common courtesy, and that's, you know, if someone were to do the same thing in my neighborhood, I'd want to know about it. So
this.
I mean, that's the right thing to do, is to have a conversation in writing or in person. It's the right thing to do.
So this is across Red Barn Road from where Tim Rogers actually lived.
Correct.
right.
His
Yep.
residence was not.
This is the,
Okay.
his estate there.
Alright. So the so the lot immediately abutting that stream
Mhm.
is a lot
Yes.
in
Yep.
this subdivision.
Yep. And that all, you know, building setbacks be 75 feet from that stream. There's really nice high ground over there. I'll have a meeting at site evaluator tomorrow morning to get soil tests on each property to make sure everything meets the state code.
Do you intend to develop any structures on these lots?
None, no,
So this is strictly a land subdivision.
correct.
So then future development will go through the site plan review process,
Future development will go through just
our local ordinance.
building, it's just single family residence, so there will be no site plan review necessary.
It is here.
Oh, sorry, the
Yes.
state, yeah. So yeah, just in town.
Do you have a copy of the ordinance?
I do, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Have you been able to locate the source deed for this property?
I have- My attorney was calling the registry last week to obtain that. Right now, I just have seen the from the town, it was tax acquired, so
Mhm.
that's the deed that I've seen.
Okay,
So we're waiting on that.
okay.
Did you say in the beginning of this that you're technically not the owner yet?
That's correct. I have a purchase and sale agreement.
How can an application be complete if you're not the owner?
Right, it's not a complete until I own the property and provide the deed and all that information, so.
Richard, how can we accept an application if he's not the owner yet?
So this isn't an application, this is simply the sketch plan review,
But
but
he's not the owner yet.
that gives you right to title, which are on a purchase and sales. On a purchase and sales agreement, he can share with us a purchase and sales agreement in order to develop.
I have a copy too, if you'd like that.
If you present before you close, we'll need that in the next.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like a lot with the solar, Margaret, where we just have, land lease, and those people haven't necessarily fully executed their land lease. They've just got an option on the land. And it's all gonna be, well, I'll say speculation that the plans are gonna be approved and then they're gonna be able to develop. And then oftentimes, if they weren't permitted, then they very likely wouldn't exercise that option on the long-term lease. So it's not often we see purchase and sales applications, but say you wanted to build a big house on the river, you might see an application on that in order to get your site plan review, your shoreline and your floodplain.
Okay.
But you have to have a letter that would come from the owner as well. I think you're planning on closing before you apply.
Correct.
Is there,
So the next time we would have you come in front of the planning board would be in September?
If you only meet on the second Thursday of each month, then that will be the time.
Okay,
By then, we'd have a butters, letters, you would all know, and
He submits an application 14, at least 14 days before a meeting. Codes turns it around to determine an initial level of completeness. We then will issue those abutters letters as soon as possible, notice them of the meeting. And then you folks will work through the actual completeness of this application. And then it's the first, that's just the preliminary. Then there's gonna be, advanced levels of revision to the subdivision. And then you have a public hearing after that gets formally noticed through the newspaper and abutters notices. And these meetings going forward they have the 14-day requirement for, if you request revisions, then there's gonna be that 14-day lead time requirement and then notice. So that's all dictated in the ordinance in terms of the lead time and the notice required. And if we miss an abutters notice, the entire process or that step of the process becomes void. So it's going to be important that we get those notices out timely and get to those people.
So I'm confused. The town notifies the abutters, not the applicant?
We notify at the applicant's expense.
Oh, and they pay us for doing that service.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And when it goes out to the abutters, this will all be surveyed lots ready to be broke up.
so that's what's gonna delay his ability to submit that preliminary application. This is pre-preliminary. So he's got to get it surveyed in order to get through the 3 pages of requirements that we have for completeness. So we'll have a developed checklist for you to review the application when it comes back. And we're gonna end up going line by line on that.
Yeah.
In order to determine its completeness. And each one will have discussion as to whether or not it's where you want it to be, or whether or not you'd like to see something change, or you'd like to see a condition placed. The applicant goes back, revises, and then comes back again for that. So it's a multi-phase process of kind of refining your thesis. You know, we're editing the paper to get what the planning board deems to be acceptable. And then once you get to the advanced phase, then you get your public hearings on that close to final proposal.
I have a question.
Sure.
There's one large lot that's gonna be, what's the plans for that one large lot?
The large lot, I plan to sell soon after I purchase the property, lease it as a division, which is exempt from the subdivision law. So the subdivision, that lot will be counted towards one of the 10 lots. However, the subdivision will deal, the 9 remaining lots along Red Barn Road.
So the ones that don't have a full square where there are homes on the Red Barn Road, those are lots that are owned by current residents of ours. And not, it's just the squares, the lots that have a full square around them.
Yes,
Like the big lot in the middle is not part of your subdivision. The lot that's on just before Ward Hill at the end of Red Barn is not part of your subdivision, correct?
No, that lot on the corner will be part of the subdivision.
But it doesn't have a full square under it. You see how all those subdivisions are totally full square?
How many acres is that first lot on Ward Hill Road?
Oh, that's,
That's 5 acres.
oh, the first lot?
Oh, not the first lot, the first Mayhew's lot's 5 acres.
Right. That other lot's probably, oh gosh, I don't know, 2 or 3 acres, something like that between there.
So the second lot in is not part of your subdivision?
Headed north on Ward Hill Road? The
Yes,
last lot?
on going up Red Barn Road.
I see, yes, so, right, sorry about that. The lot without the line along Red Barn Road is not part of the subdivision.
Okay, so
Yes.
in this Red Barn Road, we have 10 subdivisions and 2 residents that are going to be surrounded by the subdivisions.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what the lots that I'm proposing.
So
Okay,
this
and the
is-
resident across the street, yeah, I see that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is my first subdivision process.
Sure.
Transparency, at least here. I think it's Margaret. John?
my first.
Okay, maybe not Charles.
Okay.
So I don't know what I'm going to expect at the next phase. We want the lots numbered so they're easily referred to on the next document, even if it's a preliminary document like this.
Absolutely, I'm very sorry about
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
well, in fact, when they actually make an application, shouldn't
Right.
they have the large
Well, towards, as we move
that
along.
will be
Yeah.
issued?
I can
I
bring the
mean, that will
large.
be registered?
That's the very last step. But as we're going about discussions or whatnot.
Yeah, so we don't have to refer to things with the ones with the lines and the ones without the lines, right, Richard?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, what did you say will be done with the larger piece in the back?
The larger piece in the back I plan to sell, which will be outside of this subdivision review.
With an access from Ward Hill.
Ward Hill, and I may give a right of way up through the field off of the Red Barn. We'll see.
And you think that will be subdivided as well?
No,
No. Thank you.
you're welcome. And I will place covenants on all the lots. I haven't nailed down the list, but some will be all restrict age of mobile homes up to 15 years or newer to be placed on the lots.
Mhm.
No unregistered motor vehicles, junk, trash, debris should be placed on the lots. There'll be a vegetative buffer along the road with the lots that aren't probably the 5 from the stream over to prohibit clearing of vegetation within 100 feet of the road to act as a privacy buffer. No commercial activity except for in-home occupation, professional trade, or rental dwellings or farming. Stuff along the lines of that. My intention is not to change the neighborhood drastically at all. I understand creating lots and subdivisions prompt change, but I try to limit
Can
that.
you educate me? So that's all wonderful information. And it it doesn't change like the immediate environment driving up and down Red Barn Road. So you're going to have those expectations of the people that buy these mobile homes. The mobile homes will be owned by the new people, but the land won't?
Nope, the land will be owned by the people.
Because we just went through ordinance as a planning board and what we can and the town doesn't have, those ordinance, right? So how can he have those ordinance?
He can put covenants in the deed.
Correct.
And they have to abide by that. And then if they don't abide by that, who challenges them?
Property owners
Yeah.
of the subdivision.
So theoretically, say he said no mobile homes and that was agreed to through this process, that would be recorded at the registry of deeds. And if somebody came to get a building permit and they wanted to place a mobile home on the property, we would not grant them a permit. It's difficult after the fact to go back and say, okay, well, we said no trash, or you couldn't cut your trees and you've cut your trees. The town won't typically go back and do that. We do it from the permitting perspective of whether or not something would be buildable or permitted on that property.
So let's say John Doe he has the mobile home and he says, screw all this nature, I'm going to put pavement all the way to the road. He does it. What happens?
As long as he's a far enough distance from a wetland or a stream, he would own his property unless there were setbacks that were built into the subdivision.
But his covenants say that they're going to be a nature barrier from the road to the mobile homes. Because our ordinance for people who live over there, is people can do whatever they damn well please on their own land. So these covenants, who manages these covenants in the town? He can have all these covenants all day long, but it's just words if nobody's going to manage them.
Right. Margaret, I see your concern, and it's a tricky thing to do. However, these covenants I'm electing to put on the property, which it's more than just not putting anything in my mind. So
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And that, but then the town has to determine how to manage those because driving up and down Red Barn Road is gonna change. And I love the idea of creating these nature barriers. That's awesome. But what I know is that, I can do whatever I damn well please on my own land, and I don't need to go into the town. And if I want to pave all the way down from my house down to the street, whether we have these covenants or not, I can do it, and who challenges me, and who's going to incur the legal fees, who's going to do all of that? It's just, because you're gone, you've done the subdivision, which is great. People need homes in Norridgewock, Maine, and I think that's fine. But, how is the town going to manage these covenants, once these words are on black and white? Because I don't think we could do anything.
The town isn't.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's up to the other.
Right.
It's interested parties, whether they're neighbors that are part of the subdivision or not part of the subdivision. So a third party could act if they saw something like that they wanted to do.
Mhm.
If you'd want, I can elect to grant you permission to enforce the covenants, but I wouldn't think any town would want to take that.
We don't need that,
So,
thank you.
Exactly, yes.
Got enough to do. You know that when you do, this is what we're here for, right? Is to make sure he knows what the application is gonna consist of.
Or anything that you would like to see that would make this process easier for you,
Okay. Okay, well, one of the requirements of the subdivision ordinance is that each, that you have a soil test done
Yes,
and that you identify on each individual lot
Mhm.
where the septic system might be.
Yeah.
This is not on town water or sewer, so it's all gonna be private.
right.
So that will be on your final application.
Yep, yep.
And by the time you get to the final application, these lots will all be surveyed.
Correct.
So you'll have actual size to each one of these lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, number 17 on the under section F on page 12.
And there's one item here, page 6, section 4, subsection E. Site inspection. It says the code enforcement officer shall conduct an on-site inspection of the proposed project with report her findings to the planning board. And then also the planning board may vote to conduct an on-site inspection of the project. Is that something that you want to do now and set a date? Or would you prefer to have code enforcement go out first and take a look?
Is that something you want to do, or do you want to let them do it?
Yeah, I don't mind doing it if that's what the planning board wants. That's what Jordan says it should be done.
But I wouldn't know what that's.
There you go, code enforcement. I see.
So just one thing I'll note is that I spent some time this afternoon looking for the source deed. And before it was a quitclaim, it was a probate.
I see.
So it's never directly been deeded to Mr. Rogers or the estate of Mr. Rogers. And so my curiosity in that was, are there covenants in that original deed from mid 1550s before or after? I'm not exactly sure.
I see.
that may interfere with this.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
Which was my curiosity.
Right.
Because it's a lot of digging.
It is, and
And so I wouldn't, especially with 3 members here, to say that the planning board will or won't conduct a site visit.
Okay.
That's preliminary. I think once you get to that stage, maybe just get the code enforcement officer up there to review things and then, well, he has to go anyway.
okay, gotcha.
But won't the title search cover clearing up the deed
It will.
Right, but if there are already restrictions or covenants on that property,
right away?
It would go with the deed.
well, you've got right of ways which wouldn't really impact this, they would just exist. But there could be restrictions on subdivision or things like that.
So we plan to find that out shortly. And obviously, if something were discovered that is gonna make this, impossible, I'll make sure to let everyone know and not waste anyone's time.
That's why you pay a lawyer, right?
So the next check on this, Margaret, did you have any other questions or suggestions to incorporate into the application?
No, thank you.
So the next item is for the board to determine the contour intervals to be shown on the plan. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
There are no roads, so there are no contour. Huh?
So the
Easy enough to get.
if you look at the topo map, you can see that the contours there, I believe, are usually it's 20 feet.
Where are you finding it?
The 10 feet, 10-foot contour. You can tell a lot the character of the land, just given different. You read maps often enough. But I would like 10-foot contours, it sounds great for me, if that works for you guys, 2 foot, 5 foot, 20 foot, these are all common.
The only time we have ever discussed contours within a road that was in the subdivision. Then you have to have site and, you have to plan it like you're gonna plan a road.
Right, okay. So my recommendation would be the applicant's offering up 10-foot contour, that the board might vote to accept setting the contour interval at 10 feet.
Unless you just stand there.
All right, motion to accept and approve. Okay, what I've got for a motion is a motion to accept and approve the applicant's request for 10-foot contours. Does that cover it?
Contour intervals.
And okay, that's a motion.
Yes, make a motion to accept.
I made the motion.
Oh, I seconded that.
Okay.
I had,
Okay, you gotta call for a vote. Roll call.
all in favor,
No, roll call vote
roll call vote
by name.
by name.
That's what a roll call vote is. That's good.
Oh, Margaret. You still there, Margaret?
Yes.
I'm here. I think I'm gonna abstain.
What is your reason for abstaining?
I wanna know more about you know, I rushed through the what we have right here, and I'm just gonna abstain.
Is that a legal reason?
It's, the application isn't in abidance by the, you know, by the 14 days. So I'm gonna abstain, Charlotte.
Okay, I will say yes.
I will say yes.
It's like I said, the only time I've ever seen that applied was when there were roads inside the subdivision.
And then the next item is the planning board shall decide if the proposed subdivision meets the definition of a subdivision. Be a split of 3 or more lots.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, here we go again. I will make a motion that the application has met
Need a second.
when I get done. My motion is that the application has met the definition of a subdivision. Does that work?
Yes.
Thank you. You're gonna second it?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, we need a roll call.
Need a roll call vote.
I'm gonna abstain.
John Ames, yes.
And myself, yeah. Okay. Where are we in?
Right. So we're there. Where? We're at the end of this process.
Okay.
So if the board doesn't have anything else for the applicant, or the applicant doesn't have anything else for the board, the next step would be 14 days prior to a scheduled meeting. The applicant will submit a copy of the preliminary plan application. Upon receipt of that, the applicant will be issued a dated receipt. And as soon as possible thereafter, the town by first-class mail will notify all abutters of the proposed subdivision that has been submitted to the planning board, and will specify the location of the subdivision, including a general description. It'll include a copy of the application is available for review at the town office. And then the planning board thereafter shall maintain the list of abutters notified by first-class mail, specifying the date the notice is sent.
Okay, so section 6 is what we're going into next, is that correct?
Correct. Section 6 will be the next meeting.
Okay, you want me to read that whole thing again? I make a motion that the applicant will at least 14 days prior to the scheduled meeting of the planning board submit a complete preliminary plan application to the town clerk and/or the code enforcement officer. The applicant shall be issued a dated receipt, and the preliminary plan application shall be placed on the planning board's agenda to be reviewed for a complete application. That's my motion.
And we're shooting for September for the meeting.
No, I would not, I would,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it requires a motion. That's gonna be the required procedure. It would be strongly advised against to waiver outside of that procedure. And it will all be dependent upon the applicant.
right,
If the applicant can get together for August or September or October, that would be. There's nothing that's required for this meeting beyond section 5B.
Yeah, that's the, yeah,
With the information tonight, it permits them to move forward with developing the preliminary plan.
so you would like for us to proceed with this the second Thursday in September?
I will,
That would be pushing it, I almost think. Because of the surveying and everything that's going on.
That's 2 months away.
I think we just wait for the applicant to submit an application 14 days before a regular meeting. And if it happens 14 days before the
So we
September
won't-
meeting, then we'll have it. And if it's not, then we could be December.
it won't be August.
Okay.
With all submissions, please. So, so I don't have to, we don't have to vote on this. Okay. So, let me see. The applicant.
So I think unless anybody from the board has any other questions, we're good. Comments?
Yes, is there any way on the survey, the two most easterly lots, that the survey could delineate the shoreline zoning and the wetlands in them two areas? Just to
Yes.
show that there's buildable area?
Well,
I mean, something you guys have to ask for, I can't, but it'd make this process.
I know, but
easier.
there is a question in our final review about wetlands and bodies of water. And that kind of-
Absolutely, but it would save the board and the applicant a lot of headaches if the survey actually delineated that. Because if you ask at the very final meeting to show the wetlands, he may be going back to redo it.
He's saying just have it included in the survey.
Yeah, it's gonna be a board request. It can't
To
be-
put it on the surveys.
If you could, just.
Absolutely,
the
that's
two
my
easterly-
intent.
Yeah, the two easterly lots would be easy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect you to do the whole thing, because that's a lot of surveying, but
Yeah.
we can clearly see there's a wetland and a stream there. Pretty easy to do as they're doing it.
Great.
And again, if the board doesn't want to, that's up to them, but it would make the process a lot easier.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, well, then I will make a motion that the sketch plan review for Maine Woods and Waters LLC for a subdivision is complete. And now we just wait for the rest of it.
Yeah, one more question. Are people going to be able to buy this and then clear cut these lots, you know, other than the frontage that you're gonna stipulate?
They won't be able to, so the covenants will be in place that, you know, you cannot clear within a certain distance of the road. As far as clear cutting, I mean, that's not quite my, if you buy the land from me,
Yeah,
and as long as I, you know, don't put in the deed, there'll be no clear cutting, then it's your property. Obviously, there's the, you know, there's
Do they-
forestry laws concerning clear cutting.
but these lots are all smaller than the 300-acre,
Exemption, right?
okay? Because it would really be a sad thing for somebody that's living there and they look around and see all kinds of trees. Next thing you know, they're looking out the window and there's just stumps.
Yeah.
Okay,
Timmy's kind of pretty hard already.
Right. But that is no different than any other landowner clear cutting their land, so.
Am I ready for a motion? I make a motion to accept the sketch plan review of the subdivision pre-application of Maine Woods and Waters.
and when you get to it, I'll second it.
Is complete. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Margaret,
No.
yes,
Myself, yes. And you,
yeah,
yes. John, yes.
yes.
Charlotte, yes. Okay, so I guess we will make this done for now,
Great.
until future reference.
Yeah. One last question, Margaret, I can bring plans that have different contour intervals, if that would be helpful, other than 10 feet. Is
That
something-
would be helpful. Thank you very much.
Sure, yep, I'll do a 2-foot and a 10-foot.
I can, if you want, I can give you my mailing address. Or leave them at the town hall and I can pick them up there, whatever works for you.
Okay, yep, I was gonna put that on the subdivision plan, so that
Cool.
will be a little bit of time, but I can definitely, I can make a map with 2-foot contours, the aerial view, if you wanna look at that.
Whatever you have, I'd be willing to look at it and just need, more than a few days. So that would be
Yeah.
helpful.
I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
Make a motion to move on to. the
You don't
second
have
thing.
to, you're the chairman.
Moving on to the second thing on our agenda about electronic signs or flashing, scrolling signs, about limiting them in the town of Norridgewock.
Okay, and this will have to be the whole board, really.
Yes. But basically, opening it, I don't have issues with illuminated signs. I mean, that's been in play for years and years and years and years. But in 1980, we voted out billboards. And if you've ever traveled the United States, you have seen billboards and electronic signs. I personally feel that these electronic signs that draw your attention are a safety issue. Okay, like if you put one down there where the town sign is, down by the ball field, somebody's reading that sign and runs over a kid, it would be serious. The one that's in that 5-way intersection, I feel is a safety issue because it is a very, very busy intersection. And Margaret, what are your feelings on those bright flashing electronic signs?
I guess I don't understand how it got on the agenda. Is somebody asking for additional signs?
No, we're trying to write an ordinance governing, so this doesn't become Norvegas, like.
Yeah.
Type thing. Norridgewock is a little town. We don't need these bright flashing neon LED or whatever signs like they're putting up in Skowhegan and Madison and those kind of places.
I'm not in disagreement with you. I just don't understand is who puts these signs up, and is it an issue that we have to, I guess I don't understand how this ended up on the agenda. Are we being challenged to put more signs up?
No, this is trying to set it up so that there is rules in place where, like, let's say Riverside Market all of a sudden wants to put up a electronic sign like Calvary Pentecostal did, or Riverside West Front Street Market, to limit what they can actually put up for these electronic signs that would be an eye distractant for people going to the town of Norridgewock.
Okay.
Okay, just preparing for, because these are going to become more and more popular. I mean, you're starting to see them up everywhere. Churches, you name it. And I personally don't agree with them because they will draw your attention.
I'm not in disagreement with you, but I guess I don't, so as of right now, if I wanted a flashy sign on Wilder Hill Road on my land, I can put one up. If the Chinese place downtown or one of the markets place downtown, they can just put it up without going through the town. And that's what it is right now, right?
I believe so.
No,
No.
no, the site plan review process monitors signage from the commercial, non-residential perspective.
Okay,
And the state monitors the state routes, so when the signboard was put up downtown with COVID dollars, that had to go through State of Maine Department of Transportation. It had to
because
be
where it is?
Pardon?
Where it is, because where it is?
Right, because it's
Okay.
on a state route and there were safety concerns, and so they had to come out and do a site visit and sign off on the location.
And that didn't need to go through any town planning board. So let's say this was in place and a recommendation from the planning board to the selectmen. You would have had to get approval from the town to put that up?
The signboard, well, so it could either be, right now, the sign restrictions in the site plan review ordinance go through the code enforcement officer.
And we want to add an extra step that it goes through the planning board?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
John had asked for this to appear on the agenda.
okay.
And my feelings is these electronic signs are a safety issue. I have a PTSD with a bright flash when I'm driving. So like when I go by West Front Street Market and I've just passed it and it all of a sudden flashes red or blue, I momentarily freak out and I look in every mirror, out through every window to see if there's something going on, and it distracts me from driving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To me, these signs are distracting, driving distracting, that could cause an accident. And I don't have issues with any of these lighted up signs, nothing like that. But as far as a safety issue, like if they put one down here at the ball field and some driver is looking at that and runs over a kid, crossing the street, after school, those are the kind of things that I want to prevent.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm just, I needed some backstory of why this was on the agenda. I didn't understand it.
And it was put on the agenda as a discussion.
Yeah.
So the next time we come to a full planning board, we can actually have opinions formed. You can go out and ask other people their opinions of these electronic signs. I know I have. Okay. Get people's opinion here in the town of Norridgewock if they want more of these type of signs to pop up.
My recommendation is, before anything is discussed over and beyond, like with our residents, because it's public knowledge now to those people that check the website. But that I would think that the planning board needs to be on make a motion, and then that goes to the selectmen, correct?
No, we would actually create the ordinance, the proposal.
And then
for-
it goes
for
where?
the selectmen to present at town meeting.
Yep, so we would have to, it's not like, you know, we would put something in place and, you know, and
No,
that's
we
the
can't do
process,
any,
so.
we can't do anything without a vote of the town. There is no ordinance that can do that.
I agree.
I would just like to put this forth, to see what other towns may have about these things, if they have anything that regulates them.
John, maybe you can contact Madison and ask them. Because Madison has those, I mean, I don't think Skowhegan is comparable to us, but maybe Madison has them, right on, and Fairfield has them, and Church going out towards Waterville has it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can contact somebody there and ask if there's some kind of ordinance.
Could you, Richard? Oh, it's not my pleasure, the chairman. I was gonna ask Richard if he could do that.
So I did, it's already in the chair's email.
Oh, wow.
There's usually a 4-second hold on a slide. So in that instance, we're a 10-second hold on a slide downtown. A slide stays for at least 10 seconds before it transitions. And that's what's in Skowhegan and in Madison. Those are just the two locals that I looked at. When you look for those ordinances, they're usually in the cities or the bigger suburbs, the southern part of the state. But they're all usually cooked into a bigger ordinance like the site plan.
I know in Madison with Calvary Pentecostal, because you pretty much have to drive by that sign. When they first put it up, it would flash just like West Front Street Market. And they have toned it down so it's not that big flash that you would normally get. Okay. So I know that they've toned it down. So I don't know, but with my personal experience, when there is that flash or something like that, it distracts from my driving. Okay, and I just think that they can be a safety issue with people looking at them instead of looking at what they're doing.
I think it's a continued discussion, John.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I'm not in any disagreement of your advocating for it. I'm hesitant about is, you know, continual policies in place, and, you know, I would have a hard time foreseeing that we would have all these signs in Norridgewock. So, and I'm all about prevention, John, totally. But this is, you know, I think this comes from a place that it needs to have more members on our planning board to discuss it further.
I have actually drawn up a petition that can be put out there as to get, you know, the town's opinion, if that would work. So it's not just 6 members making a decision, it would be, you know, the opinion of the townspeople.
But isn't that preempting the process? You're bringing an idea to your board, your planning board members. And as the chair, you know, as a chair, you want to involve all the townspeople, which is fine, but it's like, in my opinion, you're putting the cart before the horse. I mean, I knew nothing about this discussion until I read it on this piece of paper just over 48 hours ago. And you have all the back history of it, you know, and you're asking us to support you and, you know, and sending out a petition to all the townspeople, you know, I think that's your right. But I think as a chair of the planning board, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Okay, we'll open it up for further discussion with the board members. And then somehow, I mean, I think this is something that the townspeople should have a say-so in. Okay, instead of just 6 people, you know, saying this is something that we need. I think the people in this town should be involved.
They will have the final say
Yes.
because they're gonna vote it up or down.
Yes. And if there's no real support behind it, it shouldn't even go to a town meeting.
I mean, you'll know about the support through the process that we have in place as a planning board, right? If we don't support it as a planning board, it won't go to the town's people, and then you got to figure out what your next step is. You know, it's, you know.
Yeah. But it was put out there as a discussion. Think about it. We got another month to come up with opinions and think it over.
So if we don't have anything else on our agenda for August, this will be on our agenda to talk about in August?
Yes.
Okay. Richard, have you gotten any opinions about this being on the agenda?
No, I mean, I can tell you that if this comes up, I will be advocating against it from an economic development perspective.
I hear you. I understand that too, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think the purpose of this discussion and maybe at the next meeting is just to gauge the planning board's position on it. I think just through some undertones, I've got your idea on it, but as we go back to last year when we looked at the property maintenance consideration, and that just died right at planning board.
Yeah.
And it only came to because it had support behind from the Board of Selectmen. So
Yeah.
So that is kind of really, before we put too much energy on the admin side into looking to develop something, to see whether it's got support from the board or not.
Yeah, just to be clear about my opinion, I'm against putting in all of these regulations, you know, for a small town, you know, it's and if it's one person who has this opinion, who's pushing it through, and then we determine that, you know, that there's more weight behind it, then I would reconsider it, but.
I agree with you, because I am a big fan of small town type things, but I am looking at it more as a safety issue.
You know what, for somebody who has light sensitivity, I'm right there with you. But in Route 2 and the main street there, and what I'm hearing from Richard, we have regulations that we have to abide by, and the state had to give us the mea culpa for this sign that is illuminated on the state road. So the only difference on that sign is that if we had this ordinance in place, you know, actually, it wouldn't make a difference. It wouldn't even, because it's a state road, right, Richard?
No, I mean, the town can always create stricter standards.
Okay,
So you could theoretically say, no, we just don't want these.
Yeah.
And go from there. But
Yeah.
if you get into that, then you're gonna start talking lit signs at the gas station and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because Cumberland Farm has a lit sign.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with, lighted up signs like Cumberland Farms or any of those places. It's the ones that will flash or you have to turn your head and read or something that because they're scrolling around. Those kind of things, to me, is eye candy that will distract somebody from driving.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I'm not in disagreement with those concerns, John.
okay,
I'm not.
appreciate that. But other than that, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
No.
Wait, one more thing. We got the minutes from last meeting, right?
There's two more things on the, well, three more. One is the minutes. Where's your schedule? Your agenda? And then we've got to talk about the meeting schedule and format.
Before we go through the minutes, Richard, can you give me some clarity? I travel a lot for work. I've gone through my email a few times. I didn't get an email about the April 8th meeting. And with the documents prior to the April 8th, can you go through your email and verify? Because I got caught off guard. I think you sent me an email on the 8th, but not an email before that. Okay, you don't need to answer it now, Richard. If you could follow up afterwards, because
Yeah.
I anticipated that that the meeting wasn't taking place. So that's why I wasn't in attendance on April 8th.
It was the recertification of a solar farm.
So anything that went out, Margaret, would have, and I don't know if I sent hard copy or not. It did go out hard copy. There was a hard copy mailing for that. And then there would have been an email distribution. I just have a planning board. I type in planning board, it goes to the entire planning board and the code office.
Could
And
you
that's-
look at the April 8th communication specifically?
will.
Because I travel and I did get the hard copy, but I didn't get an email and I was gone traveling and wasn't there for the hard copy.
Okay.
So,
And I wouldn't have emailed the supplemental documents because those were like 3-inch binders that came in.
right.
That's why they went hard copy.
Something came in PDF on the 8th of April. But I didn't get, I can go through checks and balances because either something ended up in spam on my end that I couldn't find. But I didn't know, I mean, I have it on my schedule for the planning board meeting, but my anticipation is that there was none. So.
Okay, I'll take a look.
Thank you.
Yep.
Minutes from the last meeting.
I would like someone else to make a motion on them because I did them.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second it. Even though I wasn't there.
But you do know what the meeting was all about, the recertification.
I mean, I can't, I mean, I'll second the motion. You were there, I wasn't there, but.
Okay,
All in favor?
roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Margaret, yes.
John, yes.
Charlotte, yes.
I struggle with this because in construction work, it's an open discussion.
Okay, and now what is the next subject about?
So the next subject is your meeting schedule, which we hadn't reviewed really.
Right.
It's the second Thursday of the month, so if that works for everybody, then that can just stand. But the next is format, and the state of emergency has expired. And we have just this month's meeting that we can do with Zoom support. Under the current guidelines. If we'd like to continue utilizing Zoom to support participation, then there's a policy that the board would need to adopt to allow for that. A remote participation policy. The select board has already done one, but it has put restrictions on it in terms of remote participation. So unless there's illness, substantial geographical limitations, disability, then members cannot participate remotely. But with those exceptions, it allows them to, as long as it's communicated to the chair and or the town manager in advance. And so if you'd like to continue with the Zoom, then we can do that, but I'll have to get that policy out to you to be planning board specific, so that you can adopt it and we can go forward legally.
Okay,
Yeah, we accepted it. What's today? We accepted it last night for the selectmen.
Mhm.
Okay,
So Margaret, you're gonna want to continue to use Zoom?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. So what I'll do is I'll develop that policy specific to this board
yes,
and loosen some of those restrictions, because I know that you're traveling a lot.
yeah, and there was a member in April that Zoomed in too, Mike did.
Right, right. And so I'll get that pulled up in the next day or Monday and get that out to you for review. And then we can adopt that right out of the gate at the next regular meeting.
What does it mean geographical differences or what is it outlined that you have to be within,
like.
if you're
like
within
I got-
25 miles, what is it?
Like if I got stuck in Florida because of the hurricane,
Okay,
and
okay,
couldn't be here tonight.
okay.
Is that a good example?
Yes.
I mean, I could have had geographical differences and be up on Wilder Hill Road. I don't know what that mean, so it just is. Cause sometimes it's a pain in the ass to get into town, so.
Okay, so we're gonna stick with the second Thursday of the month, and then I'll get that policy ready and sent out.
Okay.
And we would vote on it in the next planning board
March.
meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
is there any other business? that needs
Not
to
on
be
my
brought up?
part.
I do. I have other business. So we all got a package for the $500, Richard,
For what?
for that fee that we're getting paid.
Yes, sorry.
So as an elected, when I was elected, that fee was not in place, right?
You were elected last, yes, correct.
Okay, so if I choose not to, because I don't want to be an employee of the town or as an elected official, and then I choose not to fill out those forms, tell me what happens next.
Not much. We're legally obligated to write you a check,
Okay,
because the townspeople have said that's what they want. So I have to spend that money.
okay, okay,
And so what we'll do is if we don't have payroll, then we'll issue subcontractor documents if necessary.
okay. And then because it's under the $600 limit, right? The tax limit.
I believe
You
so,
don't have,
correct.
you don't have to, I mean, you can report it. I mean, I'm not hiding anything, but I just don't, I didn't sign up to fill out those forms, so. Okay, I just didn't hear from you in regards to the email I sent, so that's the question.
Yeah, the other thing is if you have the freedom of access paperwork.
Yeah.
I think that's still outstanding, Margaret.
Okay, okay,
And every time you take an oath, even if it's for different boards.
yeah,
You take the oath for library and budget and planning board, I have to have that signed 3 times.
okay, is the office open tomorrow?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so I can just, if you can ask, I'll stop in and just leave it at the front desk and I'll sign it.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yep.
Now, so I have to sign that every year?
With your oath, I didn't get it signed last year.
Oh, shit, okay, sorry.
A package come out, an envelope or something,
It was the stipend paperwork.
because I don't.
I think you've already taken care of it, and we already have.
I
it.
signed it at
Yeah.
the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah. Okay,
So
make a motion to,
you can say, if there is no other business,
if there's no other business,
I now adjourn this meeting.
I now adjourn this meeting.
Oh, my God, Charlotte, you're ridiculous.
I've been here 20 years. What can I say?
I know for crying out loud. Oh, Lord, that's so funny. I second the adjournment.
I can tell you, I have run multi-million-dollar jobs with less formality.
Oh, poor John. I appreciate Charlotte's rigid, she's very to the book about how the meetings are run. So I appreciate that. It makes me chuckle though.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good night, Margaret.
Good night, thank you.
Good night.
Bye.